Um, okay, so since we're going to be off next week, are there any requests? Is there something you'd like to revisit or go into more deeply? Um, is there some practice that we did a long time ago that you want to do again? Here's your chance. Speak up. No. This almost always happens. Like hardly anybody says anything. It's like, hey, whatever it is, it's okay. Occasionally someone says something, but not very often. Okay,
That's because it's all good.
it's all good. Okay, great. Thanks. Well, I mean, luckily I have something in mind. So um, uh, let me just say that the Taoists the Taoists talk about three kinds of qi. So there's this ancestral qi that we're born with, and then there's kind of the qi of the body. So the ancestral is Jing, and then the human or the present, the qi of the body is Qi, and then there's Shen, which is spiritual energy, spiritual Qi. Uh, so you can think about this as Earth, uh, Earth, human, and then cosmic. So it's all the same. It's all the same life force energy, but they just for convenience, I guess, it sort of gets divided up this way. So if you think of water, so water can be in three forms. Can be, if it's low energy, if it's cold, it's ice, it's solid. And then if it's warmer, it's liquid, it's water. And then if it's heated, then it's steam or gas. Uh, so it's all water. It's all water. So it's just sort of depending on the situation, it's different. It's different levels of energy. The vibration of ice cube is slower than the vibration of steam because it's got more energy. It's heated more, and so it's similar to that. And um, these are the sort of the elements we're working with in Qigong. So we'll start with standing and grounding and moving. That's sort of the heaviest, and then we'll add in the breath, and maybe do some Qigong, moving energy in the body. So that's sort of the middle, the water, liquid kind of. And then the Shen is the spiritual. That's the most diffuse, and we do that a lot where the body becomes porous and we become very large, or we expand our consciousness to connect with all that is. So, but it's all the same thing. It's just sort of a spectrum. Uh, I'm saying all this because it maybe will help in what we're going through tonight. To sort of be aware of where we're at in that spectrum, and none of them is better than the other. So it's not like the idea is we go from this heavy material thing to this, spacious spiritual thing, and that's what we want to do. All of them need to be in balance, and they all interrelate and are all important. Okay, so any questions on Jing, Qi, and Shen? Okay, very good. So I encourage you to just try, rather than just coming and assuming your stance. Okay, whoom. I've been walking around and doing and thinking and doing all this stuff all day, and now whoom, I'm gonna be here and do Qigong. Okay, I mean, that's good. That's very good. But we can kind of slide into it a little bit. So if we have our feet planted, that's sort of the intention. It is, being connected to the body, to the earth, to the heaviness. Um, but then we don't have to be all stiff. As long as the feet are planted, we can kind of, blow around in the breeze a little bit and sort of ease into the standing position. Um, we all have this idea that we want to do things right. And so when we say, okay, now do standing Qigong or stand, then we're going to just do it. And that's fine, that's good. We can also kind of gradually sort of drop into it, you know. And then we kind of, rather than putting ourselves in that position, we sort of just find ourselves there. Say, oh, okay, well, we've kind of, the movement has really reduced, and so now we're here, we're in stillness. And of course, the posture doesn't end with the physical stance. Once we've gotten into this stillness, that is, we're not moving the body, then we continue with our intention to feel the movement of the breath. So as soon as we drop into stillness, then we become aware of this more subtle movement, which is the movement of the body with the breath. And it's fine to intentionally deepen the breathing. And now, so we've done body, that's the heavy, and then breath, that's the liquid. And now within the movement of the breath, okay, within the movement in the body of the breath, then there's stillness again. So there's a still point in the abdomen, in the middle of the body, between the in-breath and the out-breath. There's a still point, okay? And there's a still point also in the chest, in the middle of the chest. That's the lower dantian, the middle dantian, okay? Now the still point is real because there's in-breath, and then there's this little brief transition where it's still, and then there's out-breath. So the still point is real, it's just momentary. So that's the Shen, okay? So let's just go over that again. So just loosen up, loosen your stance. Okay, you're just kind of, you're dancing around here a little bit. You're gonna do this Qigong practice. Okay, and then you get your feet in the right place for your body, it's where they're really good, rooted. And then it's okay, you can sort of adjust a little, come into this stance. I know you're going to come into standing still, but you're not imposing it. Okay? And then at a certain point, you'll just notice the body becomes still. Okay, so we notice this stillness. Now we're ready to go to the next level. And we notice the movement within the stillness. That's the belly and the chest, the breath. And the movement is expanding in all directions. It's not just front. They're both like balloons. Now we're involved in the movement. And we know the body's still. But our attention is feeling the movement within the stillness. Okay. Okay. And now once we're in tune with that, then the stillness in that movement. You'll find this at the end of the breath. And the out breath runs out, and then there's a still point before the in breath. And you can locate that in the body. So it's in the belly, it's in the chest. You can draw a line between them. You can, from the center of the earth all the way up through the body, out the top of the head. That whole line, that's a still point. Okay, so we have this stillness around which the breath comes and goes. Okay? And the breath is moving within the stillness of the standing body. Okay? And you guessed it, this has no end. It keeps fluctuating. So first there's movement of the body, then there's stillness of the body. Then there's movement within the body, that's the breath. Then there's stillness within the breath. Okay, that's the dantians, the vertical axis. That's the stillness. Now there's movement in that stillness. And this is where we can use our attention. We can move our attention down that column or that vertical axis. We can move our attention anywhere on it. So we can go down. We can bring our attention from the head down to the chest, belly. We can extend it down into the earth. We can bring it up, back through the belly, back through the chest, up the neck, up through the head. We can extend it out. Okay, so this is total freedom of movement. We can extend everywhere. We can extend it out in all directions with the breath. Okay, so this is the movement within the stillness of the vertical axis. Okay, and then there, of course, there's stillness within that. And so it'll keep, that's yin and yang, it'll keep going. It'll keep flickering back and forth. As soon as we're aware of the stillness, then there's going to be a level of movement. And once we're aware of the movement, there's going to be stillness. It's just the nature of reality. Okay, and that's all within the body. Okay, and we can extend down and up. So let's extend outward around. So let's go ahead and face the east, if you know what that is, or just face the direction. Okay, and we'll bow to the east. And turning to the south. Okay. And now to the west. then around to the north. And then return to the first position. Okay. And now above. Below. Within. Okay, so that pretty much includes everything. Earth, human, heaven, inside, outside, that's sort of the whole schmear. Okay, so let's just start at the top and loosen up the head and neck. And then as you're ready, then just gradually move to the shoulders. All right. And then you might want to widen your stance. So then just opening. Kind of focus attention on the back. We always focus on the front naturally, but now focus your attention on the middle of your back too. This is as much a back exercise as it is a opening the chest. Opening the chest and then opening the back. And then by bending, then we're also opening and closing the spine. And then the movement harmonizes with the breath, of course. So the movement is nothing but an expression of the breath. And it's okay to smile a little bit. We know the world is all kinds of troubles, millions of troubles all the time. We know that. And we're going to smile just in the midst of that. We're not denying it or negating it. We're saying yes, and this too. Okay, let's do a couple more. All right. And then pelvic tilt. And circling the hips. Okay, very good. And now balance. So if you like to start with playing the piano, this is just to stabilize. Shift the weight. Another way to do this exercise is when you put on your socks in the morning. Maybe in the summer you don't wear socks, but when you put on your socks, do it standing up. Or if you put on your slippers or something, don't sit down. So that's a balance exercise. I've done that every day for, I don't know, 30 years. And it helps. It doesn't take a lot to maintain a sense of balance. It really doesn't. Uh, it just involves just doing it once in a while. So yeah, so okay, I'm gonna put on my sock, and that's a really good way to maintain balance. And same thing when you take them off. Okay, backwash. We're starting with the attention and the crown, opening up. And then tree and spring 3 times. Okay, and let's do 2 more backwashes. And let's just drop back into standing. Okay. And just let that vertical axis, let that become clear so you visualize it and feel it. You may have to drop the chin a little bit. It may be naturally kind of up too much. You may have to pull the shoulders back a teeny bit. Stick the chest out just a little. Let the belly be really relaxed. And then when you feel that there's alignment, there'll be an out breath, and then you come into stillness, where the body becomes still. Then the attention naturally goes to the breath, the movement of the body with the breath. When we say focus on the breath, we're focusing on the sense of touch. We're feeling the air contacting our body, and we're feeling the movement of the body. There's a lot of movement. You might feel the heartbeat too, or the pulse. And you might feel the tingling quality of the qi. Qi is aliveness. Aliveness. And one of the ways that we perceive aliveness is this tingling vibrational quality. The sense of touch is sort of made up of this tingling, and it can morph into smooth or rough, warm or cold, different qualities of touch, but it's all this kind of tingling quality. Okay, so there's all this movement in this still body. There's all this movement, and then the movement is a coming and going around a still point. Okay, so the still point is that vertical axis, or it's the lower dantian, middle dantian, upper dantian. It's the still point, the point where the breath stops for a moment, where the heart stops just for a millisecond. So there can only be motion if there's stillness. There can only be stillness if there's motion. So they co-arise. Okay, let's go ahead now and take a seat. Okay, and just settle into your posture. You don't have to rigidly assume it. Just sort of kind of make your way into it. Your eyes can be closed or slightly open. And I guess my teacher Ken Cohen would recommend this mudra for this practice as we're doing. The dragon's eye or tiger's eye, where the fingers are touching the thumb. Okay, so let's go through this again. Now we're seated, and the body is still. So we've gone from movement, all the movement we're doing, and sitting down and coming into stillness. We've gone from movement to stillness. And now our attention goes to the stillness within the movement. That's the breath. We're still aware of the stillness of the body. We're also aware of the movement within the body, the breath, the heartbeat, maybe the qi itself. And now we merge the mind with the posture so that there's this vertical line or column the body is sitting within. Now this is the stillness around which the breath occurs. So in breath, still point, out breath, still point. Okay. Expanding the body with the in breath, still point. Body relaxes with the out breath, still point. Now we can use our mind and go in and imagine these still points in the belly, chest, or this line or this column. That's all the still point. And now within that, we can put our attention within that and drop our attention from the head down into the chest, belly, out perineum, down, extend our attention down into the earth as if we're growing roots through the feet. What would that feel like? And with an in-breath, then we can bring our attention up to anywhere within the body. And we're not imagining the body, we're feeling this, but our attention's within the body. Okay, go up, in the middle of the head, out the top of the head, and we can put our attention way above, extend it way out. We can actually look down on this sitting body and aware that this column goes up really far. And down really far. And so we can move anywhere within this still center line. Okay, and now let's bring our attention into the belly. If you like, you can let go of your hands and actually put your hands on your belly below the navel if you like. If it helps you to drop your attention there, that's fine. And bring our attention down into the lower abdomen. Okay, and now with the next in-breath, we can use our eyes if you like. Move the attention up the spine, part way, then relax with the out breath. In breath, move it up the inside of the spine a little more. Keep moving it up with the in breath. And move it all the way up into the top of the head. And then move it down the inside front of the body, moving it down with the out breath. And if you want to do this fast, you start down at the perineum. In breath goes all the way up the spine to the crown of the head. Out breath goes all the way back down the front to the perineum. So we're making this kind of oval. You can do it in pieces, or you can do it all at once. So this is Qigong, this is moving qi in the body. We're moving our attention in the body, up the back, down the front. This is classic microcosmic orbit. Now this is the movement within the stillness. The stillness is that column, and this is the movement within that. The body is still. And this is intentionally cultivating the chi. And every time we move our attention like this, we're cleansing the body. Qigong is contained within the physical body. So we're not going down into the earth or up into the heavens. We're just containing in the body. Okay, very good. So that's one form of Qigong. Let's do just a couple more. Okay, we'll practice another one. This is called the cauldron. This is very ancient. We're bringing the attention down into the belly. So we imagine that there's a fire in the abdomen, or great heat. And then we imagine there's a great big cauldron on the fire, and the cauldron's filled with water. And the breath is acting like a bellows to increase the heat. And the water in the cauldron is heating up. The eyes are looking down within the body. And there's this clear water. And the cauldron, that's just like the abdomen. It's holding, and the whole body, of course, is mostly water. So this isn't really very far off. And there is heat. So we're bringing this clear water with the breath, we're bringing it to a boil. And when it really gets going, it's just going to make a lot of steam. And with the in-breath, we're going to move that steam from the pure water, move it up through the body, and breathe it out the pores of the skin in all directions. So the steam fills the entire body, all the organs. It fills the whole brain. The whole inside of the body becomes steam. And with the in-breath and the out-breath, we're breathing it out the pores of the skin. So this is using this pure water, the heat of the body, to cleanse out any impurities in the body-mind system. So this is Qigong 2, but it's moving more into Shen because it's actually moving through the body and out. And the body is kind of being surrounded now by this mist or light. So we're letting this pure steam rise up from the belly, fill the entire body, every cell, and then we're breathing it out in all directions, back, front, sides. And if you like, at some point, you can let go of all the imagery And just stay with the steam and the breath. Okay, let's let the attention go out with the steam. The attention goes out all around the body. The body is this smallish thing in the center of this awareness. And the movement of the breath, all the movement takes place in the middle of this very expanded awareness. The awareness itself is not moving. It just is. Okay, very good. Now this expanded awareness, this spaciousness, is alive. So it's vibrating with chi. It's just pure chi. So it's still, and within the stillness is this incredibly rapid movement, this tingling quality. The tingling quality of this big space is consciousness. And we'll sit quietly for a minute, and maybe if you want to, you can go into the stillness beyond that, and then the movement within that. Okay, let's take a few more breaths, and then just subtly just let the body move. If there's anything tight, just let it move. And then let the body become still. And in the stillness, aware of the breath, the movement, and knowing that this reverberates, this echoes, this stillness and movement, it just echoes out infinitely. Okay, very good. All right, let's go ahead and do our closing. So we'll clap our hands together one time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And massage, gently massage the eye socket. Forehead, scalp, ears, temples, jaw. Face. Tapping the kidneys and massaging the kidneys. Okay, thank you so much for your practice, for your presence. And if you would like to slip away into the ether, that's fine. If you'd like to stay for questions and comments, we'll do that. And we will not be meeting in 1 week, but we will be meeting in 2 weeks. Have a good evening. Todd, I've been watching the catbirds and the cardinals feeding their young, and the wrens, and the young are gone now. They're like fluttering their wings and doing those things. It's really great.
Some of these might even be on their second broods.
Oh, you think? Wow.
Could be, yeah. We're starting them, yeah. I noticed the house wrens are very vocal and singing a lot again right now,
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least in our yard. So
yeah, yeah. Hi, Jake.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Todd.
Hey, Jake. Good to see you.
So, any comments or questions about any of that?
It's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, your movement up the spine, uh, the oval,
Hmm.
uh, that brought me back to the early '90s when I started uh, with Ken. He was a member of the First Unitarian Society, and we did a lot of that. In fact, sometimes we would start out, but he had us also breathe through the nostrils in terms of cleansing breaths. And then we would do that oval sometimes for 10 minutes.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that was so pleasant to do that again.
Yeah. Well, that's really basic Qigong, and it's the
Yeah,
microcosmic orbit. So you're moving the Qi through your body and through the universe, through the cosmos. It's all the same. It's this fractal kind of thing. It's all the same thing. It's a very classic, and yeah, you can do it for a long time.
yeah,
Um, and then after a while, you kind of let go of,
right.
yeah, yeah. So the Taoist teaching is very parallel to the Buddhist teaching. The Taoist, is movement and stillness. So there's this is just obviously true. There's movement and there's stillness, and uh, going like that. And in Buddhism, it's form and emptiness,
Right.
or form and boundlessness. Kaz Tanahashi says boundlessness. I kind of like that. And so there's this constant co-arising, you know, of emptiness and form, and that's the Heart Sutra. And this movement and stillness. This is just a kind of another doorway into that. That's based on moving. It's qigong, moving the body. So I think it's useful sometimes to know, to have a perspective on it. Is that when we're going into samadhi, when we're entering these states of deep awareness, it's characterized by stillness. It's kind of silence and stillness. Okay. And the reason that presents in that way is because we're so used to movement and noise. That's what we live in. That's samsara, right? It's just constant impermanence. It's movement and noise, and things, and it's very liberating when we can let go of that and just be in this vast stillness, right? And so it's this whole other side of reality. So it feels like it's really freeing, which it is. Um, but it's not the end. That's not awakening. That's just balancing the imbalance of the busy mind. So if you think of it in terms of the mind, so the mind is empty, and then the mind has thoughts. So that's emptiness and form. So if you're just not thinking of anything, and then you think of something, that's a form that arises in the mind, in emptiness. So you have to have emptiness and form. And we're so used to being tortured by form, right? All these thoughts, right? That emptiness presents as this liberation. I mean, which it really is. Um, but at the same time, it co-arises with form. So the idea isn't to get rid of form, or to get rid of movement, or to get rid of the mind, or to get rid of the body, so that we can just be in this expanded state of pure consciousness. It's both. You know, and this is the Taoist teaching. I think it's the Buddhist teaching too. It's both. So it's being with all of it. And the nature of it is it flickers back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, that's just the nature of consciousness. It's like you can't do two things at once. Even if you're a really accomplished pianist and you're playing all these notes with both hands, with 10 fingers in both hands, you're actually really only doing one thing at a time. There's just this millisecond between these things in terms of consciousness, because it's constantly flickering. It goes really, really fast, but it's constantly flickering. And that flickering between form and emptiness, or motion and stillness, that's the basis of the reality that we inhabit. That makes sense?
Yes. My observation is when I do Qigong with you, or I also do it in the morning, I, I can achieve this stillness. And it's different. I also sit in the Vipassana tradition, but the stillness arises less when I'm sitting. That's just my observation right now.
You mean than it does when you're moving or standing?
Yeah, but I'm just making that observation. You know.
I think that's true. I mean, the mind empties when the body's moving.
Yeah.
You know, if you're playing basketball, you're not thinking about your grocery list. The mind empties, right? Because it's focusing on moving. It's not focusing on thinking. It's focusing on moving. And when you make the body still with sitting meditation, well, then the movement has to take place in the mind, because the body's still, right? So, I mean, it's doable, but I mean, for someone like me who's very physical, it's more accessible if you start with moving the body. That's how it is for me and for a lot of people. You know.
Well, this kind of helps me understand why, if I'm going to lose, oh, I'm echoing, I guess. Um, if I'm going to lose concentration while meditating, it's always at the bottom of the breath. I get lost in boundlessness, and immediately thought comes back in, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Rather than getting, I mean, I never get lost. Well, I shouldn't say never. I rarely get lost at the top of the breath, which would be embracing. Well, which would be the form part of the breath cycle. It's always at that bottom, that still point where I float away and lose consciousness, I think. Oops, you're muted.
It may just be a different form of consciousness. It may not be so much that you're losing it. I mean, that may be an attitude about it.
Yeah, I mean, losing concentration, I guess.
If you're doing a concentration practice, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're counting the breath, or if you're, yeah, right, sure, yeah. Or maybe it just pauses. You know, maybe it's not that you've lost it. It's just that's the rhythm of it. I mean, saying that you lose it,
Well,
it
what I mean is if I discover that, oh, I've been, you know, daydreaming for 3 minutes.
oh, lost in thought. I see what
Yeah.
you mean.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's this prejudice in our culture that spirituality is up.
Yep.
That it's this spiritual thing that's divorced from physicality, and that's not the Taoist view.
Mm.
You know, the Taoist recognizes that there's a vertical holarchy or hierarchy, or that there's a column. There's different levels of energy. Certainly, verticality is real, but it's not like that's better than this. That's a judgment. That's cultural. Yeah. So.
Well, my stomach tells me it's time for dinner.
There you go. All right. Listen to that.
Steve, I just wanted to ask to make the comment. I'm assuming you're watching these stupendous pictures of the universe from the James Webb.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Unbelievable. Humans have never seen that. I mean,
I know.
That's like, what is it, 12 billion years ago?
Yeah, and today, and this just almost blew my little mind. They've discovered water in an immense body of water. That's not a planet. It is just water. It's a huge, they call it a reservoir of water, just floating.
Oh, must be ice.
They called it water.
Well, ice is water, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to read it again. It's just like, those pictures are amazing.
Oh, they are. They're blowing my mind. Just incredible. I'm looking at the little orange dots, and what I'm seeing here is the early universe here.
Yeah.
And this is
yeah. Yeah, you notice that same thing, and it's just a little dot at the top of our thumb.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
Yeah.
I think it's worth the money myself.
Right.
All right, Jake.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Good
Bye.